How do let and var affect JavaScript for loop scope? Imagine you're cooking and you want to keep track of how many times you stir the pot. Now, think about how JavaScript handles variables inside a for loop. It can be a bit tricky if you don't understand how scope works. When you write a for loop, you usually want to keep a count or do something repeatedly. But depending on whether you use let or var to declare your loop variable, the behavior can change a lot. Let's start with var. When you declare a variable with var inside a for loop, it is scoped to the whole function or globally if you're not inside a function. That means if you create some callbacks or asynchronous functions inside the loop, they all end up sharing the same variable. After the loop finishes, that variable will hold its last value. For example, if you log the value of the variable after a delay, you'll see the final number over and over again. Now, if you switch to let, the story changes. Variables declared with let are scoped only to the block of the loop. Each time the loop runs, a new binding is created for that variable. So, if you make callbacks inside the loop, each one captures its own copy of the variable. When you run those callbacks later, they show the value from the specific iteration they were created in. That means you get the expected sequence of numbers, not just the last one. Here's an example to make it clearer. With var, if you run a loop from 0 to 2 and set timeouts to log the number after some delay, you'll see 3 times the number 3. Because all callbacks share the same variable, which ends at 3. But with let, each timeout logs its own number, 0, 1, and 2. That's because each iteration creates a fresh binding for the variable. You might wonder why let creates a new binding each time. The JavaScript engine treats a for loop with let as a new scope for each cycle. It makes a new variable for every iteration, so closures inside the loop capture the right value. This is especially useful when working with asynchronous code or callbacks, where capturing the correct value is important. Now, let's talk about redeclaration and hoisting. Variables declared with var can be redeclared and are hoisted to the top of their scope, which can cause surprises. Variables with let cannot be redeclared in the same scope and are hoisted differently. They enter a temporary dead zone until their declaration runs, which helps catch mistakes early. In web development, using let in for loops is safer and more predictable. It prevents bugs that happen when multiple callbacks share the same variable. It also makes your code cleaner and easier to follow. So, when you're writing loops that involve asynchronous functions or closures, prefer let over var. To sum up, let confines the loop variable to each individual iteration, creating a new binding every time. Var, on the other hand, shares a single variable across all iterations. This difference is key for controlling how variables behave in loops and avoiding bugs. Understanding this can help you write better, more reliable JavaScript code.